Welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. Today we have a quarterback special. That's right, we're going to have Marcus Mariota, Bo Nix, and Austin Novosad, the new incoming Duck quarterback. They'll be joining us a little bit later from our signing day event. We'll hear from them. The guys will react. Also, we'll talk about some of the rumors with the Pac-12 and expansion. Are the targets of SMU and San Diego State the two best options for the conference? And then, of course, we will talk a little bit more about what's up next for this Oregon football team. But let's go ahead and get to our opening tip, brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Centers, where they've been doing the right thing since 1952. And we give you a basketball update. For the men, it was a nice little split at home this weekend. You got a monster win over USC, 18-point victory. Couldn't pull off the upset against UCLA. The Bruins really putting the clamps on the Ducks in the second half. Let's go ahead and hear from Dana Altman, though, his reaction to the games and what's up next for this team.
They were down. I mean, we all were. We mad at ourselves mostly. We got kicked on the boards. Turned the dang thing over. And those are things we should have been able to control a little bit more than what we did. And so, we shot a higher percentage than UCLA, and they took 12 more shots, though, because of our turnovers and offensive rebounds. And that's, we just got to do a better job. So they were down, and we all were down Sunday, but new day, and you got to push through. And like I said, they were focused yesterday, but the enthusiasm, I was clapping my hands a lot. I should have put a skirt on, and cheerleader. I'm just, come on, guys, we're fine. We got to play.
All right, good stuff from Dana Altman. Obviously, this team has some work to do, but the good news is they can really manage the next 5 games in their schedule. You're on the road against the Washington schools. You're on the road at Oregon State. Then you host Cal and Stanford. It's not inconceivable that Oregon could win these next 5 games. That would give them a 14-6 record in conference play. And right now, they currently sit as the first team out of the NCAA tournament. So if you win these next 5 games, you imagine they might be ready to pounce on an open spot if a team ahead of them possibly drops a game or two. So we'll see what happens there. Switching gears to the women's side now, probably one of the most difficult stretches for Kelly Graves since he's been here at Oregon. This team has lost 5 straight, 7 out of the last 8. However, there is some hope for them, but let's hear from Coach Graves first.
We've still got a lot to play for, We still control our own destiny. I still feel if we can get a couple more wins that I think we're going to be in a position to reach our postseason goals. But, that's why I think Friday becomes such an important game. Hopefully, I think for a good portion of the practice today, we showed some pretty good energy. Yeah, we got to make those little plays that win games. Make the stop when we need. Get that rebound when we need. I think our rebounding has just got to get better. Get the shot that we want at the right time by the right person. Just all those little things that we're just not quite there on yet. But time's running out. So that's all I want. I just want to see us continue to compete. Just play hard. Just do what we can and control what we can.
All right, stick around. Plenty more Talkin Ducks when we come back. We'll hear from the fellas. We'll start to get to some more football news, plus those interviews with Marcus Mariota, Bo Nix, and Austin Novosad just around the corner. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time now for some excellence off the football field, brought to you by Ferguson Wellman. Ferguson Wellman taking a disciplined approach to investing. Well, this is like catching a rare Pokemon, to be honest, if you're a fan of Pokemon. We caught Marcus Mariota for an interview and got Bo Nix to join us as well, too. So we had a chance to sit down with one Oregon legend and one soon-to-be Oregon legend when Bo Nix is done, and talk all things about life and football. Here's our conversation from signing day.
Joey Harrington, Bo Nix, Marcus Mariota.
Justin Oh, no. Jordan Kent.
I can catch the passes.
Okay,
That's
fair
what
enough.
I can do for
Fair
you
enough.
guys. But guys, thanks again for taking some time. Marcus, let's start with this. Congratulations, fatherhood. How's that going for you?
Oh,
2 months
man.
of dad now.
It's been unbelievable. She's our little Christmas baby. She's been an angel. She sleeps 4 to 5 hours a night, which is like unheard of, so we appreciate it, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You realize that's going to stop now that you've made it
I
public.
know, I just jinxed it. I know I
Yeah.
jinxed it, but she, hopefully she keeps it going.
Yeah. What I want to know is, tell me about just maybe any relationship you two have. Obviously, Marcus, you were here before Bo. Bo, I'm sure you had a chance to see Marcus when he was at Oregon, plays an impact. Just tell me about what your relationship is like.
Yeah, so obviously I grew up watching Marcus, and that was very fun for me. Just got to see what he did on the field, and then obviously off the field. And then this past year, right before the season, he was in the training room, and so I had to run up there and make sure I spoke to him and made sure to get a picture with him, because not every day do you see a Heisman Trophy winner and an NFL quarterback walking around your complex. So I just wanted to be sure that, while you're at Oregon, you make those connections. There's a lot of guys like Marcus who have done a lot of great things, and I wanted to be able to introduce myself and get to know him and build a relationship maybe for the future.
Yeah.
I've been asking some of the guys who, have come from around the country through the years, how much of an impact, and honestly, let's be honest, you're one of the younger guys in terms of alums, all of us football players around. We're all getting old now. But there was always this talk of the Oregon brand, like extending beyond the West Coast, extending to the South, extending. You're not from the West Coast. Like, how much truly did Oregon's brand reach? Did you see it growing up? Is it something that you paid attention to? I know that you obviously had a history at Auburn and family ties there, but just for that normal kid, the high school football player who's down south, does Oregon resonate for them?
Absolutely. I think, when I was growing up, when I was in school, you see a lot of kids with Oregon shirts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of the green and yellow, the uniforms, whatever it is, but it reaches out throughout the South. And so I was definitely aware of it. Really, from the first time I can remember, it was with Michael James and when they played Auburn in that national championship. And ever since then, they have had some great some championship runs and some great teams. And obviously before that, you got to go back and look at the history once it reaches there. And you go back and look at the history, Oregon's been relevant for a long time in college football. And so, yes, to answer your question, it definitely reaches the South. It reaches really all the way over to the East Coast. And making the decision to come out to Oregon was one of the best I could have made, just because of the branding and just because of, the relationships and the resources you have with it being such, tight with Nike and all that kind of stuff. It's just really awesome. It's a great brand.
And you don't have to answer this question, but was Dwyer's knee down? You don't have to answer.
That's a loaded question.
You don't have to answer.
There's a lot
But
going
We're not live.
You
We're
know,
not live.
You know.
We are not live.
That's
We
okay.
can
So
jump
go
in.
ahead. Go ahead. You moved. I'm not going to put him in that position.
No. Go ahead. Marcus, I'm curious because when you get to the NFL, no matter how talented you are, every player has such a fond recollection of their college years. It's just different. College to NFL. As you've matured, becoming a father now, spent several years in the league, you reflect back at your time at Oregon. What do you take away from that experience? Because you've now been through the business of the NFL. You've seen every side of it versus this experience you had at Oregon.
Well, when I look back on it, I really think about the relationships. Obviously with my teammates, but the coaching staff, the support staff. I think, bar none, that Oregon's support staff is one of the best in the country. And you can talk to guys that have played at the Alabamas, the different schools across the country. When it comes down to it, that's what made Oregon such a special place, is that, for a long time they had a lot of the same people in there. And when we would go back, you had relationships that you got to enjoy and to talk to people and be around people that saw it from such an infancy stage to where it got to, and just the appreciation through all those years. And when I look back on my time at Oregon, I think that's what comes to me first, is just the relationships that were built.
Speaking of relationships, we had Hronis and Sabrina. And you won a Heisman Trophy, but, I mean.
She's the GOAT. She's the GOAT. We get it.
What role did you play in that? Because Hronis was saying you helped grease the wheels with that a little bit. I mean,
wow.
Be honest.
Is he giving him credit for
I'm
setting
giving
him up?
credit.
No,
Yes,
is Hronis
yes,
giving Marcus
yes.
credit for setting him up?
Hronis gassed you up. Like,
I don't know about all that. I don't know. He did all the hard work, really. But they had such a connection early on. Not getting all dive into all the romantic details, but what's been really cool is just, like we said, you went back to Oregon, there was a lot of the same people. And, you know, the training staff, the support staff, they kind of built that connection between Hronis and Sabrina, and, you know, eventually became what it is today.
Yeah, speaking of family, I was talking to them downstairs, and they said that they're actually going to host their wedding reception at Autzen, and you were going to DJ. They're going to sell tickets to it. So I don't know if that's was that the connection you're talking about?
You know, if everybody wants
That's
to be
what I
there,
heard,
be
too.
good.
Yeah.
And Bo, this decision to come back for another year, it really feels like coming from Auburn, which SEC, I mean, you talk about college football and where it can be as far as fan support. What did you take away from this year in Eugene that, on the outside to me, it feels like, wow, he loved his experience in this first year, so much so that he wants to come back even though there's options sitting there. What was it about your time here?
Well, first of all, I've loved my time here. Every single part of it, from the time I got here, just open arms. It's been great to be in Eugene, great to be around fans, great to experience game days, great to win games. But at the same time, you know, I felt like as the year went on, you know, we left a little bit on the table, and I would like to come back and just have another shot at it. You know, you only get college football for so much. And, you know, I'm going to have exhausted all of it, you know, after doing 5 years.
6, 7?
5 years is a long time. But, you know, COVID, that COVID year is special because the COVID year was tough on a lot of things. You didn't develop like you'd like to, so you kind of get an extra year on the back end, which I feel like I need. And so I'm excited for this year. I think we're going to have a really good football team. And at the end of the day, I want to go and win a championship. And so that's why I came back.
No. And I look at this year again for you coming up. What's it going to be like for you, different coordinator? I mean, where's your confidence level as far as being able to replicate the success you guys had last year when you look at the challenges of different coordinator, maybe some new pieces on that offensive line?
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, new things. There's going to be some new players. There's going to be some new guys up front, new guys I'm throwing the ball to, new coach that's calling the plays. But at the same time, you know, we know our identity. We know what we're going to want to do. Coach Stein's going to implement a lot of really good things, and he's going to have a lot of success with what he wants to do. And I'm excited to go after it again, playing a tough conference with a lot of good competition. You know, top to bottom, I think Pac-12 is one of the best in the country. And, you know, even playing in the SEC and playing in the Pac-12, there's a lot of carryover. You know, week in and week out, when you play 9 conference games, it gets tough. It gets hard. There at the end of the season, you know, you got to really battle to get those last few wins. And so that's what I'm excited about doing. I think it's going to be important for us to have a good spring, have a good fall camp so we can go into the season and not really have the newness part of it.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You know, we're sitting here, a little more than is it a year? When did you come? I mean, when
just over a year.
Just over a year from when you decided to come here, and we're looking at it from a completely different perspective now. As you know, the leader of this team, the established quarterback. What were you thinking coming in? I mean, I look at you in the locker room now, and people have asked, well, what's he? You know, what's so great about having Bo come back for another year? I said, because, you know, when those young guys walk in, they know exactly who to look to. They know who's doing the right things. They know who's driving the ship, right? A year ago, what were you thinking when you walked into this situation?
You know, a year ago, I knew the possibilities. I knew what could happen, but I knew what had to go in to make it happen. I knew what it was going to take to win over a locker room. I knew what it was going to take to compete and get myself better. So now going into it this year, it's the same thing. You know, I got to win over this locker room again. I got to win over the new guys. I got to continue to win over the older guys that I've played with. And now they kind of know a little bit more about me, but they still, you know, they have a lot that they want to see from me. They want to see how I respond this next year because at the end of the day, you know, I feel like I have as much growth as anybody in that locker room. I want to get better more than anybody in that locker room. And so I not only want to show them that, I want to prove that to them so they know they can count on me on a Saturday and we can go out there and win together.
Well, you said you got to get better. Again, we've talked about this a number of times. What do you feel like you need to get better at? Because if we're analyzing you from, you know, we've tried to do this in the show. Well, what does Bo need to improve on? I was like, I don't know, not get hurt. Like, what is it that you're coming back? Like, what do you need to improve on?
You know, that's a good point. I think this offseason, I wanted to train, you know, like lower body like a running back. I want to get bigger, stronger, faster. be able to take some hits and, you know, keep going, run through contact, all that kind of stuff. And then upper body, I want to be flexible, I want to be loose, I want to be able to throw it just really well. And so it starts in the off season, go back to training, go back to the board and say, okay, what do I want this time next year? And then reverse order that and see what I got to do to put that into it. But, you know, there's a lot of in-the-pocket movements, in-the-pocket throws that I can make, a lot more, you know, the layered downfield shots that you see in the league. Guys like Marcus doing them, you know, I got to do those consistently on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I've done those. I just got to do it more and more, put that on film, and then at the end of the day, have another season like I did last year. You know, it's going to be hard to duplicate it, but I think it's, you know, it's doable. That's why I came back, is to do it again. And so all the work, you know, I have to put in. That's what I enjoy doing. That's what I look forward to doing. I look forward to getting better and seeing myself grow in those areas so that hopefully I can be like Marcus and go as high in the draft as I possibly can.
Yeah. I know you guys got to get to a lot tonight. So
Everybody wants to be
right.
like Marcus.
Let's close on this. Marcus, you look at your experience ever since you stepped in the door at Oregon to where you are now. Always love asking former players this. If you could go back and say anything to your former self when you first arrived on campus based upon what you've experienced now, what would you say to yourself going back?
Sheesh, well, that's a tough question. When I look back on it, I would start first and foremost, like, just enjoy it, man. I think Bo's put into a lot of great points. Like, the college experience is one that is once in a lifetime that you don't necessarily get in the NFL. So enjoy it. I think a lot of times, especially college athletes, they're so focused on what's next. You know, I really try to remind myself to stay present, do what I can to be the best version of myself for the team, and everything else will kind of fall into place. And I think he's got a great head on his shoulder. I think he's got kind of that right mindset. And, you know, I'm excited for Oregon football. I'm excited where this guy's taking it. And, you know, I look forward to the games in the fall.
Well, guys, thank you so much. You two are the reason why every new student on campus doesn't remember Joey Harrington. So thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you
Joey,
for
don't
having
ever
me.
talk to you like that, Joey.
It's the truth. Hey, we get old, all right? We get old.
All right, when we come back, the guys will join us and we'll hear what they have to think about what's next for Bo Nix as he gets ready to play his final collegiate season for the Ducks. Plenty more Talkin Ducks when we come back. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for our legendary moment, brought to you by Abby's Legendary Pizza. We now welcome in the fellas from the Oregonian, Aaron Fentress, Joey Harrington, and of course, one Anthony Newman. And guys, we just heard from Bo Nix. Two things for all of you here. What did you take away from our conversation with them? And then what do you think you can build upon next season when it feels like you already did everything that a quarterback could almost imaginably do last season?
Well, I mean, you're kind of spot on with he did almost everything that you could possibly do. But the key word is almost, right? They didn't win the conference championship. They didn't finish the season that the way they would have liked to finish. And here's what has me feeling really good coming into this next year is Bo Nix has an off season. Bo Nix has a spring. He has a summer to truly establish himself as the leader. Whereas last year, like when he came in the spring ball, it was, well, is it Ty Thompson? Is it Bo Nix? Whose job is it? This year it's Bo. And he's the one that everybody looks to, and he's the one who gets to set the culture, right? Those things that were kind of, he took this team on an incredible journey last year and really wasn't, the guy until what, Aaron? You were getting reports out of there, but let's call it midway through fall camp. We kind of had an inkling of what it was going to be, but having an off season an off season to be the focal point, and with the rest of the team knowing that he made the choice to come back to them. Right? That's the thing. Like, he chose them. He chose Eugene. He chose that team. That shows an incredible amount of leadership and commitment. And that's what has me, I guess, most looking forward to this year, is this is truly going to be Bo's team. And he's got a full year to shape it the way that he wants.
First of all, for me, it was cool just to have those two together on set. And Marcus doesn't do a ton of interviews, so it was great that we got Marcus up there, and he was very gracious enough to do that. And I think obviously he felt comfortable being around a bunch of ex-Ducks. Although I'm a little bitter that, I sat down in my chair and I was ready to be a part of the interview, and then I got yanked out of it because Joey threw his weight around. I'm Joey Harrington, fake quarterback. No, I'm kidding. No, that was the right call to have you on set. No doubt about that. But it was still great to see Marcus there and to see him with Bo. As far as what Bo could do, I nitpicked this a couple weeks ago, and you were all over me, Joey. So I'm not going to go there again this time.
No. Say it, because I probably agree with you, actually.
Oh. Well, I said last time that, when he got hurt, his production fell because he had to be restricted just to the pocket. He needs to improve a little bit as a pocket passer. Not that he wasn't already good, but his passer ratings went down a lot. I think he needs to show the NFL that he can be a pocket passer, because in the NFL, sometimes you just have to sit in that pocket and deliver. That was my nitpick, and you and I went back and forth about it. But I will make another nitpick, okay? Going into the 2014 season, if you guys remember, this was a long time ago, I was saying that Marcus needs to have some signature games where he snatches defeats or snatches a victory out of the jaws of defeat. Because in 12 and 13, their national championship aspirations were tripped up against Stanford twice in games where the offense got shut down. For better or for worse, that usually comes on the quarterback. If you're a Heisman candidate quarterback and you get held to under 20 points, people are going to look to you because you're supposed to be the miracle man. And I said going into 2014, he needed to make that happen. He did it against Michigan State. He did it when the offensive line fell apart at Washington State, where he threw more touchdowns than incompletions. They lost to Arizona, but they made up for it later, obviously, in the season by throttling Arizona. Bo, this season coming up, if they're going to win the conference title, is going to have to do the same thing. Snatch a victory out of the jaws of defeat. He couldn't do that against Washington, but it wasn't his fault. He got injured. It was not his fault. They would have won, I think, if Bo Nix doesn't get injured. But they still had a chance to go to the conference title game at Oregon State. They had a lead. And again, it's not always fair to blame the quarterback, but if you're the guy, if you're a Heisman candidate, you're supposed to close that game out. So that's the one thing he's going to have to do this next season. There's going to be 2 or 3 times when it's going to be like, oh my God, they're going to lose, just like the Washington State game last year. He did it in that game. And he has to elevate the team, elevate his play to make sure they win the game.
Ooh, I'm jumping in here, Anthony.
Go ahead, here we go.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You're right. You're
Boom!
No. Okay,
you guys know that's all I want to hear in life, right? So that's why when people give me crap on Twitter, I'm like, yeah, but Joey and Newman said I'm right, therefore that's all that matters.
Okay, but I haven't spoke yet. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Damn, I got too cocky too soon. My bad.
Hold it. Okay, think about this. Guys like Aaron and other reporters, they always talk about stats, the offensive stats. How many passing yards did they get, the rushing yards, total offense. And that's true. But we also need to talk about how many wins did you get. I think that's the most important stat. And
that's what I was talking about.
Oregon didn't get enough, to win a Pac-12 championship or to go even further. What's important, though, to understand is that the supporting cast that Bo Nix has coming back is gigantic. And that makes a quarterback also play better when you have some dudes that can play around you. We're talking about the running game, talking about the offensive line, the wide receivers. I think there's only one guy graduating, one key guy that's really leaving. You got a bunch of receivers and young guys coming back. So it's going to make it much easier for Bo Nix, and he's going to be healthy, Aaron. He's going to have both legs. Hopefully he can stay healthy throughout the season. But I think Bo Nix is going to do just fine. I think the supporting cast is going to make him better. And yet he's still a good quarterback. But when you got that running game, boy, that takes, Joey, it takes the pressure off being a quarterback. When you got those receivers that can get the football, will go get the football, it takes the pressure off the quarterback. When you got that offensive lineman that will give you that extra time, that takes the pressure off the quarterback. Bo's going to be just fine.
Aaron, I just love that Anthony makes it seem like you're the one who made Bo get injured. Come on, Aaron, he's going to have 2 healthy legs now. If it wasn't for you, he would have had it last year.
I know, and I said it wasn't his fault numerous times. See, I know with Newman. I have to, say numerous times what I'm not saying so he doesn't attack me, but he still attacks me. It's all right. I'm used to it.
All right, when we come back, we'll set our sights on the future as the newest Oregon quarterback, Austin Novosad, will join myself and Anthony. We'll pick the youngster's brain when we come back on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for What's Cooking, brought to you by Sam's Northwest BBQ, the Northwest's largest brick-and-mortar barbecue store, located just south of Portland and Sherwood, Oregon. Your home for Yoder Smoker products and so much more. Well, we had a chance to catch up with the newest duckling in the flock. That would be quarterback Austin Novosad. We had a chance to pick his brain and see what he's already learned, the early enrollee on campus, and what he's taken away from being here at Oregon, but also working underneath Bo Nix.
We've had a chance to chat with some alumni, some older players. Let's bring in some fresh ducklings here. Austin Novosad, 3 weeks on campus. You've been here with the early enrollees. Congratulations. Welcome to the pond. How's the experience been for you so far? Because going not just after high school, but midway through the year, halfway across the country, because Austin, Texas, right, is home. And what's the experience been like so far?
You know, it's been eventful, I guess I could say, getting up here halfway through your senior year and coming with a bunch of early enrollees. It's been great so far, kind of getting acclimated and adjusted to school and football. But I've enjoyed it so far and looking forward to this year.
Let's talk about you for a minute. Let's have the fans know who you are. I mean, so you're not going to your high school prom?
You know, I think we do have the option to go back.
Oh,
Do you have a girlfriend back home?
I do have a girlfriend back home.
All right, you're going back.
That's what I'm saying.
However, she doesn't go to my school.
Okay.
She is at a small school out in West Texas, and so you know, we do have the opportunity to go back for prom.
Do? Oh, okay.
And graduation, so I'll for sure be graduating.
Sweet.
You know, I think that's in May or whenever that is, but I'll definitely be going back for that. Yes,
Cool.
sir.
That's great. Austin, it's really interesting because Anthony and I, we've been around the Oregon program for a long time. And for a while, Oregon was known for very flashy uniforms, very nice facilities, and then that high-paced Chip Kelly offense. Well, the thing is, every other school has that now. So for you, why did you choose Oregon? What was the deciding factor that made you move halfway across the country and commit to this program?
Yeah, for me, the recruiting process was a little different just because I had different sections in it, was committed and then kind of checked out some other schools. But I think for me, what kind of sealed the deal on Oregon was just the offense that I was going to be in. I think that it's you know, my style and something that I fit in really well with Coach Stein, the new OC coming out here, and then also just the other you know, academics that Oregon offers, and outside of football, the opportunities that every player has, I think, is next level. And so when you put those two together, you know, a student athlete out here is just different, and I wanted to be a part of that.
What do you bring to the table as a quarterback? I mean, what's your strong points? What do you strive on? As you want to get better in time, but what do you do well now?
You know, right now I think I'm a true pocket passer. Can make every throw on the field, and then use my legs when needed to extend plays. I think that's kind of my game. And then something that, you know, you kind of brought up improving, I think that just the mental part, learning from Bo this year, I think just the preparation that it takes to be a college quarterback, I think is different from high school for sure. And so I'm excited to kind of, you know, sit back and learn from Bo and see how he prepares every game.
And looking at the timeline, did you commit before Bo committed to another year at Oregon?
So funny that you bring that up, because I was actually on my visit, and Coach Lanning was like, we don't know if Bo's going to stay or if he's going to go to the NFL. And, you know, I was like, you know, it doesn't really matter to me. And then actually, as I was getting on the plane, you know, they texted me and was like, hey, Bo's staying, and I saw the graphics. And so, you know, most kids would be like, hey, you know, that's another year I have to sit out. Whereas, you know, I was very excited just because I'm going to get to learn so much from an experienced guy. I mean, he's been at multiple schools, been to multiple offenses, and, you know, had a great year last year, and I think he's going to have another one this year. So I'm just super excited to watch him and, you know, this whole year.
Yeah.
It's funny when we get a recruit or Oregon gets a guy from Texas. I mean, there's so many schools down there. Right. How did you slip through the fingers? I mean, because, I mean, there's a ton of schools down there, a ton of very good schools that you could have chose. But have you been to Eugene before? Have you Oregon before?
So actually, not before my visit. But
okay.
Coming from a small town from Texas, Dripping Springs, I think the vibe is very similar to Eugene, and so
yeah.
I think that was just a connection I could make with the town and atmosphere. And so it was actually kind of cool to get out here and check it out.
You know, it's interesting. Quarterback is such a different position than any other position on the team when it comes to the roadmap and the timetable, because really only one guy for the most part can play, and it forces teams to make tough decisions. From the player perspective, when you look at my first year, my second year, what is that roadmap in your mind that you would be hopeful for as far as getting your opportunity out there? Because there's really only one spot versus, you know, if you're a defensive back, you've got multiple spots and you're playing 2-3 guys. Did they talk to you about a roadmap or what they see that they want to have you compete for now that you're here?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's roadmap is different. You know, some guys, injuries hold them back. Others just, you know, the timing of things. And I think that, you know, for me, it's just coming in here and being the best that I can. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And you're going to play when you're the best one. So just getting in there and preparing and doing, you know, everything that you can to put yourself on the field, I think, is key to success. And I think those are the guys who end up playing.
Yeah.
What are you studying at Oregon?
So right now, I'm in business, on the business track, and you know, we haven't declared our major yet, but
you got time.
We got a little bit for that, but that's the path I'm on right now.
Okay,
all right.
Good.
How often is your mom calling you each day right now?
You know, the first day, it was the first week, I should say, it was pretty frequently, and you know, we're still always chatting it up with me and my dad or whoever back home. Even my little sister always calls me here and there, but you know, the communication's been there just because it was a recent move, but you know, it's been exciting so far.
Here's the funny thing. So when he came to college, he was from right here in Eugene.
Eugene, yeah.
I was from Portland, so I'm about 2 hours away. So when I was homesick, I just drive home. Have you been homesick yet?
You know, not yet, but
you will.
I probably will be, like you said, and I think that there's opportunities to get home, and I'll definitely take them when I get the chance to get back down to Texas.
All right, awesome stuff from Austin. It feels like he's much more mature than just an 18-year-old kid, to be honest. So great stuff. All right, when we come back, the guys will react. We'll let you know what we see from him and whether or not he can be the future for the Ducks at quarterback. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for some Talkin' Numbers, brought to you by Par Lumber. And we take a closer look at Austin Novosad, the 6'3", 185-pound freshman from Dripping Springs, Texas, was a consensus 4-star recruit and the number 9 ranked quarterback in the 2023 class by 24/7 Sports. He flipped his commitment from Baylor to Oregon on December 21st, 2022. So great to see him now join things in Eugene. And Joey, I'm sure you sounded that mature and composed as a freshman coming in the door, but what do you think about the future of the quarterback position at Oregon? It's been so long, well, really not since Justin Herbert, that you've brought in a freshman and they have been that guy and moved forward. After Bo Nix gets done, how did we feel? Or does it even matter anymore now that we have the transfer portal?
No, I think it does matter. I think it matters a lot, actually. And here's why. Because the transfer portal, while it allows you to fill holes, it also takes away a coach's ability to prepare, to look down the road, to establish a depth chart, right? Like that's the thing, is how can you plan? You know, when you used to be able to recruit someone and sign them, you knew they were going to be there for a couple of years, and you could say, all right, this guy, you know, is going to be the starter, and then the young guy can develop and take over. Like that doesn't. that can be blown up pretty quick if someone decides to leave. So my point is, having a quarterback and an established guy as your leader gives you that 2-3 year window where you can say, you know, this is our leader. This is the guy we're going to build around. And you can mold and shape and develop a personality with the, you know, what type of team are you going to be? Like, so much of continuity has to do with who's there, who's making decisions, who's pulling the trigger, and to have a guy who, whether he's a freshman or a sophomore, but whether we're looking ahead, Ty Thompson and Austin, right? Whether it's Ty who will have been there for a couple years, or Austin who just been there for one, like once Bo leaves, having one of those guys potentially take over gives the Oregon offense and Coach Lanning like a runway on which they can build, which I think is extremely important if you're trying to build up a program for long-term success.
Well, I have to say, the number one thing I took away from that interview was an image of Anthony Newman in 1984 in his pillow crying because he was homesick. I miss my mommy. You said you were homesick when you got to Oregon.
I was.
You did. You said that. I was like, oh,
I know, I was.
Sensitivity. Anyway. There's my shot of the day at Newman. No, I like the kid. I wasn't involved in the interview, but I watched it to the side, and he came across very well. And it's it's one of these situations. With Oregon, they've signed a lot of 4-star quarterbacks over the years, and very few have worked out. So you wonder where things are going to be with him. In an ideal world, Ty Thompson takes a big jump in this next year. He's not going to beat out Bo, but to the point where if he plays for Bo, they don't hand the ball off 4 straight times. They actually let him throw it. Then he's the starter as a redshirt junior in 2024. Austin redshirts next year. He's a redshirt freshman and the backup. That's ideal. And then he's in line to start when Ty's gone. But we know that those things always work out that way. I can almost bet right now that they're going to probably bring in a transfer for 2024, even if they think Ty's ready, because you're going to need veteran depth. So we'll see where things go, but he's going to get an opportunity to succeed with this team because he already has a relationship with the new offensive coordinator. And if Stein liked him and wanted him and brought him in, that says a lot. Just like with Dillingham and bringing in Bo. He wanted that guy because he had a relationship with him and believed he could get a lot out of him. So we'll see how things work out, but quarterback is just a wild position. And I still see transfers in the future.
It's funny. Aaron goes way out in left field to take a shot at me. Way out in left field. Matter of fact, I don't think
you said you were homesick.
I don't think me and Joey knew what he was talking about. But he mentioned about me being homesick when I was 18 years old. And yeah, I was homesick. But I do know this, Aaron. If you would have been in the fall camp with me when I was homesick, I would have took my homesick sadness out on you. I would have knocked your teeth out. Okay, come across the middle.
I would have been wearing a mouth
I'm telling you right now. Come on. Just because I'm homesick, don't get it twisted. I'm going to still come at you.
Socks off, Newman, but go ahead.
Okay, second, now going back to the quarterbacks, going back to young Austin. So here's the thing. Joey's looking around like, where are we going? What's going on here?
But it's getting violent. Choking me once, now you're going to knock my teeth out. But when we was at Nike together, what'd you do? I was standing right there.
I give you a hug. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because I love you. But here's the deal. I think Joey said this. They're high school players. They have rankings, 5-star, 4-star. I mean, Ty Thompson was a 5-star, and and we know what's going on there. Austin, I think he was a 4-star. It might have been a 4-star. We don't know until these kids get in the system, go through the program, grow a little bit, get some real game. No one really knows. But, I like the fact that when you bring a young quarterback in the program and you hope you can develop them through years. I love the transfer portal, and I like how you bring a guy in if you need a guy. You brought Bo Nix. I mean, he did his job. That's going to happen, and sometimes that's not going to happen. You would like to rely on the guys that you recruit, the guys that you bring in at that quarterback position to help you along as everybody gets used to him. Everybody knows how he's going to play. You're going to lose that in today's game with the transfer portal. I understand that, but Austin has a long ways to go. We can't talk about, he's going to be the next Justin Herbert. We have no idea. No idea.
All right, good stuff, guys. When we come back, we'll wrap up shop and talk the latest about the most recent Pac-12 expansion rumors. Will they be true? We'll let you know when we come back on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for our rock solid pick, brought to you by Milan Stoneworks, bringing you the finest stonework products in all the Pacific Northwest. All right, guys, most recent talk about Pac-12 expansion is now pinning things on San Diego State and SMU possibly joining the conference. A, what do we think about that? B, is it still the wisest move for Oregon to stay in this new, potentially reconstructed Pac-12 if these are the two schools coming in? Let's get started with you, Ron.
I love it. You maintain a presence in Southern California, and you expand your presence into Texas. Now, some people will moan and groan at these two programs because they haven't been in Power 5 conferences, but once they're in Power 5 conferences, they will have more money, their recruiting will get better, they'll get better talent, and they will become competitive. There's no doubt in my mind. Let's go back to Utah. When Utah came from the Mountain West, people were like, oh, we got Utah, right? Okay, Utah, their first years in the Pac-12, they went 8-5, then 8-5, 5-7, 5-7, 9-4, 10-3. I mean, they came out pretty solid. And of course, we know they've won the conference a couple years in a row. So don't sneeze at those two teams yet. They could easily come in here. And we also know that we know the history of SMU, right? They know how to pass out the bag. We all know the Eric Dickerson story. So with the NIL, there's going to be some Texas money flowing through SMU, and they're going to get some dudes. Now, as far as staying in the Pac-12, yes, I thought all of the whining and crying about the Big Ten thing was completely short-sighted. I've said this before. It was almost like the cool kids who weren't invited to the cool kid party, and they're all upset about it. Well, how come you didn't invite us? We're Oregon. Well, there's a lot of reasons why Oregon didn't get invited, but you don't need to be in the Big Ten. Stay in the Pac-12, because if you're as dominant as the fans believe Oregon should be and is, then you should rule the Pac-12. And guess what? A Pac-12 title gets you every single year into the playoffs, especially when they go to 12 teams. Heck, you can go, if you finish 10-2 and finish second, you might be able to get in as long as you had a good, strong non-conference win. So I think Oregon should stay in this conference, should not even worry about another conference, and I think they're going to be just as fine. And I think adding San Diego and Texas to the mix, SMU via Texas, is going to be a good thing.
Aaron, I don't disagree with your logic of Southern California and Texas, but those, at least Utah and Colorado, Colorado coming in, you had a national championship, you had Heisman Trophy winners, there's tradition. And, you say for Utah coming in, well, they've gotten better. Well, Colorado stinks.
Did SMU not win a national title? They came close, right? Go ahead, sorry.
I think they did. I don't know. They've just been completely irrelevant, right? That's the thing. The teams that you're bringing in are completely irrelevant in terms of I don't say cachet. But on the flip side, and these two things can both exist at the same time, that's kind of the point, right? If you're playing in, there's two things. One, it's irrelevant because in a few years when all the conferences realign again anyway, because the TV money is going to get bigger and the playoffs going to expand and change, and it's all going to change in a couple years anyway, then this whole conversation is going to be irrelevant. But in the meantime, you actually kind of want those teams that are going to be irrelevant in your conference for the very reason that you said. Every conference is going to have a direct bid into the playoff. And, if USC and UCLA leave and go to the Big Ten, now they got to deal with Michigan and Ohio State and Wisconsin and Penn State and every few years Iowa. Whereas Oregon's sitting back here, all you got to do is beat Washington and the upstart Oregon State Jonathan Smith team, and you got yourself a path. So it makes sense to stay. If you're truly worried about money, which Oregon generally isn't, you'd probably want to be finding the first thing to a new conference, but that's not Oregon's issue. I just don't really care about San Diego State. Marshall Faulk.
But don't you think though? Sorry, Newman. Just one quick point. If they have more money, if they have more resources, and they're in a bigger conference, that they're going to make themselves more relevant. They're going to become good. A lot of people wonder what Utah was going to do, and Utah just won back-to-back conference titles.
Yeah, but at least there's I just have no connection with SMU, right? And that's kind of the what is the? I understand the geographic proximity to Utah, right? And I'm coming at it from is this a Pac-12? It's not anymore. And that's what you just kind of have to just, get rid of. Is college football is different. College football has changed. College football doesn't exist anymore. So you're simply looking for teams that are going to get you a recruiting TV market. And, I guess that makes sense. But still, it's like,
Well, yeah, I'm with Joey. I mean, I'm not jumping up, clicking my heels because of San Diego State.
If you're with me, Anthony, do it.
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, but I will say this. I think it does help recruiting. You're down at San Diego State. There's some ballers down there in Southern California, and you can get down there and you're trying to recruit and get these kids back up to Oregon, and then get into Texas. I mean, Oregon has done a great job though in the past of getting some guys who can play from Texas, like Michael James. But SMU, far as a team that you're playing against, SMU.
They're going to get better, though. They went 7-6, 8-4, 7-3, 10-3 the last few years. It's not like they're horrible. And they're going to have more resources. They're going to get better. They're going to pay some players, just like everyone else. Watch. SMU is going to get wins on Oregon.
I don't doubt that, Aaron. I don't doubt that at all. It's just like, it's the idea of, and this happened a long time ago. It's not obviously your fault. Again, Bo's healthy legs are not your fault. It's not the Pac-12. It's just not. Like, Texas is not part of the Pacific Conference. In the same way that even before USC and UCLA joined the Big Ten, like Maryland and Rutgers, like that's not that's ACC. Like, that's the Atlantic Coast. So it's the idea. I think you need to blow the whole thing up, or quit trying to it's this power game of who can get who and who can get what market and who can get what TV contract. Like, all that stuff just drives me crazy. Like, let's just play football.
All right, fellas, great stuff. We'll catch up with you next week. When you guys join us, we will have so much more from signing day. Obviously, we have a great conversation with Rob Mullins, and we kind of get the state of the football program and the conversations he has with Dan Lanning in the offseason. And, of course, anything else that happens on the basketball floor. A lot happening for the men and women as they try to chase a potential bid in the NCAA tournament. That'll do it for this edition of Talkin Ducks. We appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you next week.